and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sherry Ann.
So let's start by getting grounded with our Pesh. Sherry Ann, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Yes, I'll go.
Okay.
Physically, 4.1. Emotionally, 3.9. Spirit, 4.3. Hope, 4.1. And my word is bright.
Okay. Physically, I am a 4.4. Emotionally, I am a 4.5. Spiritually, a 4.25. And hope is a 4.3. And my word is propelling.
Okay.
Different.
Yeah. I was trying to think of another word, but that was the one that popped up. So I'm like, I'm just going to go with it.
And you should just go with the word that comes. No explanation necessary.
Right. Always wanted to come with something brilliant, but it is what it is. So today happens to be our 52nd episode, which means we have done this for a year.
Yay!
And so we're celebrating a year of podcast recordings.
Yeah.
And offerings.
Yeah. Oh, one whole year of, sharing and having these conversations that, otherwise, really, we only get these conversations in our trading programs. And we only get to talk about this work with our coaches and people who are learning that with us. And so I love and appreciate deeply what this podcast has done for us, individually, but also how it has opened up our curriculum and a lot of our, what I like to call CJI-isms, and just this kind of conversation to a wider audience and making it available to people who don't typically get to speak this language. I think that the podcast has done so much, and even just being in existence in a whole year.
I know, which means we have staying power. So thank you very much for that. And I feel like it's not a gift, but I can't think of another word that we're offering to you, our audience, who's like, what is the Cancer Journey Institute? And what do you do? And what does it feel like? And how do we get a little, taste of what you do? And I think that's what you get with these podcasts. It's the level of the conversation. It's the insight that we get. It is the joy that we have for our work. And then there's also that even as we're doing it, we're getting ahas and clarity. And it's like in the conversation, like life in general, if you're really being open and vulnerable to whatever the topic is or what's going on, that we learn. And so I kind of feel like this is an example of us learning with stuff that we know, but you're never done. It's like there's even more insight or something new or a new angle or perspective to look at things from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when we're in training, we're focused on a certain concept and learning it quite quickly, right? Because there's so much to our curriculum, which is great. And I think it can be a little overwhelming sometimes, not everyone learns at the same pace. And obviously we're very much a slow down, take a pause. And this podcast, we obviously come up with the topics before we start recording, but it gives us a chance to focus on even a smaller piece of it, and really give it the attention it deserves and have the conversation that we want to have, given that this is so in the moment. We don't like to talk about what we're going to say in the podcast. We like it to kind of come naturally and just flow with whatever is here for us in this time. And it makes it really approachable for us, but very, very real for anyone who's experiencing it. We don't come with any like predetermined, like planned, plotted kind of content. We really
Right.
let it flow and be real. And one of the pieces I think that's important of that, it's like for our coaches who have been through our programs, and who are currently in our programs, it gives another touch on the same topics, the same curriculum, that we talk about in class, but maybe in a slightly different way. Or if someone's already graduated out of our programs, it gives them a place to come back to continue to speak this language that we have and continue to be um like wrapped in our concepts and have something to play with and touch base on, rather than feeling like, at the end of our programs, we hear a lot of times people are like, I miss it. I miss the conversation. I miss the care. I miss like the content and just like the lessons that you learn. So, yeah, it provides so much, and it keeps me really tuned in with what we do, especially
Right.
being, I primarily work on the operations side, so I don't get the fun all the time, like when you're in the programs and playing and practicing and watching them demonstrations. So for me, this is a really nice touch base to like what really matters to us as a company.
Right. Right. And I think the word that you were seeking was scripted. We're not scripted. Our Even our workshops and our program is not scripted per se, meaning we have topics, we have um, outlines. I mean, we know what we're going to talk about, we know what we're going to cover, but every training group is different because it encompasses who's there and the personalities and what's needed in the moment around that particular topic. So that's why I love the way that we teach, because it's fresh, it's new. We get to the core of everything that we teach, but some conversations show up and they take a different turn. And so there are different perspectives, and even the training that I'm doing with one of our existing groups last Thursday, we started talking about, so, when do you, as a coach, refer out to perhaps another coach if that doesn't work for your client or for you, because it needs to work on both sides, or to a clinical professional. And so that doesn't normally come up at that point of our program. It's always available at the end when we're wrapping everything up and we're talking about ancillary questions. But we just paused and stopped and made time for that because it fit right there in the flow of that particular training. So that's just an example of how our programs kind of are a reflection of what we do here in the podcast, which is we stay on topic, but then there's nuances about it that we bring in, and that's what makes it fun. It's
Yeah.
more conversational. We're learning in the moment, or we're amplifying something and getting like more clarity on it. I love that word, clarity. So um, that's what these podcasts are. And we also have, a whole section on celebration, which is a tool in the Cancer Journey Institute world. And so we're celebrating.
Yeah, yeah, and we're taking that moment to celebrate here, which is really exciting. I also wanted to say that, as you're speaking, or to go off of what you're saying, is that while we have our own structure, we have, our own unique way of really teaching that integrates our lessons and everything into the work that our coaches do. All of our work is set up in such a way that like it highlights that what you need matters. And because that's such an important piece of what we do, it means that we're able to then get immediate feedback from our students, our trainees who need to know what that is in order to be successful. We're not like, okay, well, I have to follow the lesson plan, so we'll get to your question later. It's like, well, someone who's going to be in this field wants to know the answer to this question and feels that it's important for them to move forward. But other people may not have had that question, but maybe they want to know the answer because it will help them as well. And I mean, that specific question really brings in that community of coaches and really emphasizes how we're all in support of one another. It's not like my coaching business is against your coaching business and we're fighting for the same clients. It's like, no, we're working with who needs us, because what's so important about the cancer journey and what we teach at the Cancer Journey Institute is that everyone's needs are going to be different. And we need to know what our audience, what our students, what anyone who's in our community really needs in order to provide that for them. So by having that open conversation, even in our podcasts, right? Like whatever you and I need today, we get to talk about it and we get to have this space to not only share what's here for us, but also maybe someone who's watching is thinking about this as well or is in a similar place. And so they get to get answers to a question they didn't know they even had. So I think that that's what's really beautiful about the work we do. It's so flexible and it allows us to be deeply, deeply, deeply connected with whoever's lives we're touching.
Right. And to be really, really present. That's what we're advocating, and that's what we're amplifying, and that's what we're teaching.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to say something else. You peaked something there. It's flown out of my head.
Talking about going really deep and being connected, flexible, people getting what they
And
need.
it's well, first off, we really advocate asking for what you need. And I don't think that permission in life happens so adamantly. And I say adamantly because we're like, we really want you to ask for what you need when you're with us. And there's more likelihood that we will deliver what you need. So that's why we pause in a moment to see what's here and present. But we're also connected. That's what I wanted to say. We're all connected, and we believe in the connectivity of everyone. We're not solo beings. We may be introverts or we may be extroverts. And if we're introverts, we think, oh yeah, I like to be alone, but we're still connected. And so when someone brings something up, there is a thread that seems to go through everybody. And so when we pause to take a look at that, not going off book, but in that seems to be present here, we allow it to be present. And then we discuss it, we bring it in, and it seems to have an impact on everybody. Someone takes away a little nugget from that rather than, that person took the room, or that's that's we're being distracted. We know the difference between that, and
Mhm.
we know when it's someone seeking something personal, and we'll say that seems to be something that we need to process offline. We'll hold on to that, and we'll talk about that later. And when something is really present for everybody. And I think, again, when you and I are doing these podcasts, we're really aware of what's happening, what's here to be brought present.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on that, holding space for people that they didn't know they needed and something to learn, right? Like, we rarely in life look at our interactions in a way that, like, um, that we have the perspective or the question in our head of, like, what can I learn from that? Or, like, what's actually in play here for me in this situation, right? So, like, that brought up if we're in a group and there's kind of a triggering moment that happens, yes, sometimes we take it offline and sometimes we give it some space in that moment too. Um, and we get to have whatever is needed in that moment, right? Because we're not going to take a triggered moment and be like, okay, we're gonna like just shut you down now and take that offline, right? Like it's like, okay, it seems like there's something here, like let's talk about it. And then everyone in the group also gets to see how it's handled, especially because I mean triggering moments are just like it's almost like taboo to have like such a fiery, intense moment and not immediately swing to toxic positivity or like fight or flight kind of situation. Like um we get to make a different choice and see how someone else does that, because sometimes it's hard to rewire yourself to do it for yourself. So we really hold that space of like, you don't have to fight or flight or freeze. You can pause, maybe that is a little bit of freeze, and you can make a different decision, but by modeling that, people are then able to see how they could do it in their own lives, or
Right,
maybe
right.
it, like, reminds them of interaction that they've had with, like, a family member or a friend. It's like, "Oh, I actually would have liked to make a different choice than I did." And so it opens up more possibilities for the future that are more aligned with who you are and who you want to become.
Yes.
So, like, as a podcast, I like to think that we are modeling things for people that maybe they aren't necessarily taught, growing up, um, and how to handle those interactions with people, both if you want to say negative or positive, you can, but um, sometimes we just go through them and gloss over any impact that they've had on us and just keep chugging along because it's like, okay, it happened in the past, but it has an impact and it does matter. And then we get to also realize, are we projecting? What's our reaction, and why is it ours? And it's our responsibility to take care of. Um, there's so much, and I love that we get a place to put this, because for me personally, um, this lets me put so many of the thoughts that I have constantly, my brain's constantly moving, somewhere that matters and somewhere that I feel like is of service for maybe other people who are going through a hard time, or maybe not even a hard time, but like those microaggressions, or like there are small things that we want to say don't matter, but they still feel like they matter, and I get to feel like I have a voice that can be shared,
Yes.
and experience to be shared with people who otherwise wouldn't know how.
Yes. And I would love to, as we're going forward into our next 52 sessions, or the times that go forward, um, to have our audience interact with us a little bit more. So if any of these conversations like spark a thought or trigger you, please, comment and let us know, because that keeps the conversation happening and you're not in a silo.
Hmm.
That's one thing that I think we really wanted with the podcast, is not to perpetuate the siloism that's out there.
Yeah.
And that happens to work with celebration too. Part of the reason why we have celebration as a tool and why we're doing it today is that we don't give enough time to, or yeah, time and space to celebration. And celebration is really just a moment to acknowledge that something happened, something that we want to acknowledge. Something, it could be something significant. Doesn't matter, big, significant, or small. It doesn't matter. It's just us saying we want to take a moment to really acknowledge that something happened that we want to 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 talk about and spread and um, celebrate.
Yeah, because the joy doesn't have to just be our own. It's not like, okay, yay for me. I don't need to talk about it. It's more like,
Right.
we made it. We did like 52 episodes without breaking a week. I mean, the consistency. If you know anything about strengths, there's a strength called consistency, and we do not have that in our top 10, either of us. But the fact that we were able to, that's so exciting. And
Right,
obviously
right.
you got there with other strengths, but that's a different conversation. But there's so much to be celebrated in this larger space, right? Like the fact that we continue to show up for you, for us, like that's exciting. And that we've gotten to share things we otherwise wouldn't have been able to share. Like that's so exciting. And
Yes.
yeah, there's just so much in there that feels so good. Ooh, like tripped up on my words. Um that makes the podcast, however big or small it is, it still has impact, and it's had a positive impact for us, even just being able to do it.
Well, when you were like, and celebrating, and all of a sudden you got quiet. It's like, that's what we do. I mean, I know we're so proud of ourselves. I mean, when I say we, I'm like, as humans, we tend to downplay the really great things that we're not only proud, but excited about. And so we're like, oh no, I don't want to take up too much room. Oh, am I pointing too much attention at me? I don't want to do that. I don't want someone to say, oh, look at you, just, pumping yourself up. That negative ego, that negative speak, that critical inner critic will come out. And I think that I wish that we could give equal amount of time to celebrating the great, the great to us. And that could just be, I ate something fabulous today that was really healthy and resonated with my body, to look, we did 52 weeks of podcasts. I mean, it's well, whatever. There's no scale. It's like I'm excited about it, and I want to spend as much time as I would on something that I would consider negative, or I beat myself up about it and I play it over and over and over again in my head. I want to spend that amount of time on celebrating about how great I feel about doing 52 weeks, how accomplished I feel, how delightful that I've been able to do this with you for 52 weeks. And I don't know exactly who we've impacted, but I like to think that we've had an impact and got to share some real vulnerable information and stories. And maybe along the way, they got to learn something too.
Right, right, absolutely. I mean, we're doing this, yes, for whoever's watching, but we're also doing it for us. And we're doing it for us personally, we're doing it as for business, but it can feed a lot, which is really exciting to even know that that's our intention. And to be able to do something about it, because negative ego, which your imposter syndrome is part of negative ego, can easily just like flare up and then you don't do it at all. And it's just an idea that's floating, and then we're like, no, I couldn't possibly. But the fact that we just said yes, and obviously when we started, we were always a little bit of hesitation. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but because we committed to doing it for ourselves, and look how far we've come. It could have stopped after just a few weeks, or it could have been much more inconsistent, but we've been able to hold this space for ourselves, for our business, for the people who watch, so consistently. Like, it's hard to not be proud of ourselves for that. And just a small anecdote about the podcast is that throughout the week we always post clips from the podcast that's coming up or has just been posted. And I'm an avid Instagrammer, so of course I'm scrolling and I see it come up on my feed, and I will of course always love it. How can you not? But I always have a pause, and I felt this way very early on too. That's like, do I share it on my story with the people in my personal Instagram, right? Like, not business wise, but like, it feels so vulnerable. It feels, and it's like an Instagram story is a 24-hour story. It's really not that big a deal. And when I repost it, it only shows like the first part of the clip. So it's not like you watch the whole clip from watching my story or anything like that. And those are things that are also circulating my mind, but like, the negative ego has been, and sometimes still is, quite strong about sharing it. Like, am I being too much? Are people annoyed by it? Does no one want to see it? Like, there's so much that comes up, and it's like, it's not that big a deal, and you get to celebrate and share things that feel very real to you. And so I try to remind myself of that. It's not being like, look what I did. But even if it was, it's not a bad thing. It's such a
If
split
it's
second. Like, why am
if
I
it's
worried?
right, if it's real in the moment, and that's the thing, is I think we've been really real on these podcasts. There have been so many weeks where I'd go, I don't feel like it, or I'm grumpy, or I'm having a hard day, or you come in and you're like, I got about this much energy. I mean, we've been wherever we are, and we're like, we're doing it anyways, which I'm very proud of. And we're real.
Hmm.
And so whatever we're giving you is who we are and what we got in this moment. And what I notice is when we do that, we allow ourselves the permission to be authentic and real and vulnerable,
Mhm.
then it changes.
Yeah,
Like that grumpiness shifts.
right.
That you know, I was tired. All of a sudden I'm energized. It's like being where you are and speaking to it has this magical effect of bringing us more present. That's just how it feels like right now.
So I'm really grateful for the podcast because um even though, obviously our patch numbers stay relatively high, um even if they're low, I can still show up and have lower patch numbers, and I know it's not a judgment. It's not um a bad thing, It's like I get to be real about where my passion numbers are, and that's just where we're at. And that's where I'm coming from, which like really reflects day to day, like where anyone's at. You're never going to be 100% all the time. It's never going to be perfect, and I don't have to show up every single time in my absolute best self. I mean, I want to, obviously. The perfectionist is in me, like really, really wants to, but being here is actually a constant reminder for me that I don't have to. Like, I don't have to pretend to have really high numbers. I don't have to pretend to um want to be here sometimes and doing this, but because this conversation and like the topics we choose are so rich and filling, like they're really fulfilling to talk about. um it always makes me shift. I mean, I won't say that I always shift from the beginning pesh to the end pesh, and I never am trying to lie about how I am shifting, but oftentimes it is a natural shift throughout like our 20-30 minute conversation. By the end, I'm like, yeah, honestly, they have shifted a little bit, or maybe they haven't, but it doesn't have to. It's just a personal check in to be like, I acknowledge where I'm at right now, and I don't need to be anywhere else.
Yeah. It does get us grounded in the moment and gives us the permission to be there. And I don't have to explain anything to you
Mhm.
or anybody. And so that's one of the beauties about having this PESH scale that we do. And you've heard us say this before, but I'm going to say it again. Before every meeting, before, at the beginning of every coaching session and at the end. And it's just that grounding. For a moment, we get to take that temperature of where you are. And it's nice to know where we are at different times of the day. I know that there are coaches and even clients have decided they're going to coach. I mean, not coach, Pesh various times during the day. Yay, bravo! And maybe some of you out there are doing that too. I think that's wonderful because there's nothing more important than us and you and me to know where we are so that we know how we're showing up. It's part of that whole impact and responsibility we talked about last week.
Yeah, yeah. Because really, like you said, like no one's gonna take care of us but us. Like no one's gonna love you like you love you, and we have to be able to show up for ourselves before we can show up for other people truly, even if that's just, where am I now? Like, what am I feeling? Just
Yeah.
even if you just do the word or you just do the numbers, you don't have to do the whole at the beginning and at the end, because sometimes, that's too formulaic and it feels um like you have to. But to even just have a moment of check in with yourself, to tune in with what's there, or to be like, I have no idea what's there, I'm a little lost. That's saying something just there, and that will it causes a shift. Like, regardless of where you're at or what it is, or if it gets better or worse, it does cause a shift to make that acknowledgement. I want to do my takeaway.
Okay. You go.
So, one whole year of podcast, my takeaway is just how proud I am to have been consistent. I know I've said it a lot. Um, but also, I'm so grateful to have the space to come into each time, because it's not that the world falls away, but I get this time to like focus on this topic that means so much to me. And this company that means so much to me, that it really, it grounds me every time we get to like meet and talk, and just touch base on things that are so integral to our company and to people who are coming in. I really want to share what CJI feels like with everyone. Um, rather than people feeling like, well, what's your deal? Like, I'm in the dark. I don't really get what you guys do at all. This becomes a really soft place to land that they don't have to do anything.
Right, right.
So
That,
that's my
that
takeaway. My pesh is physically I am a 4.5. Emotionally, I'm a 4.75. Spiritually, a 4.5, and hope is a 4.5. And my word is like radiating.
I feel it. My takeaway. Wow, 52 weeks. Can't believe that we had, topics, 52 topics, and yet there's still so much more. Um, which gives me my takeaway is, wow, there's a lot that wants to be said and wants to come out from in here. And thank you for letting us have this forum to share it, and hopefully it's impactful to you. I'm looking forward to more because I'm getting really comfortable now in this medium and realm. And my pesh is physically 4, emotionally for 1. It feels like it's going up scale. Spiritually for 2, hope for 3, and my word is growth.
Well, let's do one last yay. Ready? One,
Okay.
3.
Yeah.
Which is so us to do, but like we made it. We're here. Thank you so much for being here for this episode, but being here for other episodes, and feel free to jump back and watch any of you've missed, because there are always little nuggets and insights that we're happy to share, and thank you for being here with us.
There's always something for you to celebrate, so please have your own celebration today. And remember, you're more powerful than you realize.
And I do want to just say, like, seriously, comment, because commenting and sending us messages, it's you asking for what you want. And we want to help, give you what you're looking for when you come here, if it's a topic or something. So let's design that relationship. Tell us what you want and what you need. We'll see you next week.
Bye for now.